Hi, this is Suzanne Wachtel, and today I would like to talk to you about grief. Grief is a large part of our life. Sometimes we experience it early on, sometimes we experience loss as time goes on, but inevitably, without doubt, if we attach to other people, if we attach to our pets, if we attach to anything, from a person to a place to a job to a home, loss and grief are part of the emotional triggers that human beings experience in that process. I experienced grief in my life, but mostly I had a very large chunk of grief. About 12 years ago, I happened to lose my mom, who I took care of. We had a turbulent yet loving relationship. My favorite dog, I've had many, many dogs, but my favorite dog, Sammy, passed away from old age. Nevertheless, it didn't hurt any less. And then a week or two later, I lost my 27-year-old son from an overdose, which was quite shocking and really not expected at all. So having had that experience with my own personal grief and acknowledging the incredible pain that one goes through when they're experiencing this loss, this end of a relationship, whether it's a mother, a child, a pet, was quite remarkably painful. And I became committed, as I'm a therapist and I work with people who always are going through some sort of trauma or loss or, challenging experience. But when it came to grief at this point, I feel that having had this blast of it at one time in my 50s, really, I had a challenge. And the challenge, I believe, was I could allow those painful experiences and the loss to identify me, and I could feel, that I somehow had become a victim, or I could use the experience of these losses to empower me in a way that taught me, and I taught myself, and I studied, and I went to any resource I could find at the time to try to understand and comprehend and process that we can learn from loss. We can learn about life from loss. We can learn how to live better, how to enjoy every day, that life is not going to go on forever and ever and ever. And we are not going to be there for the ones we love forever. And we are going to lose people, pets, things, and we have to understand and learn the tools to handle it and cope when these things happen. It was really important for me to really realize, what did I learn from these incredibly difficult challenges? And what I did come away, my takeaway, was that every person alive, no matter how important, how non-important, how beautiful, how not beautiful, how wealthy, not wealthy, it doesn't matter. Every single person is going to die. There's no way to escape it. There's no way to outbeat the odds. It's just inevitable. So some of the philosophies like Hinduism and Buddhism really have a different belief system than most of us. Their belief is that souls are reincarnated and put into other bodies, that life, like human life, is really a soul being hosted by a body, and that the body is not necessarily the person. It's their energy, the soul that lives within the body. So taking it into that perspective, which some people have trouble wrapping their heads around, for me it actually became a comfort to think that when you love somebody in human form and you connect with them and you create a bond, an emotional bond, that when that person dies physically, that they're not gone at all. In fact, they're more with you energetically, almost like an angel, right? Surrounding you with love and comfort. And that's when I really got hooked into looking for the signs. There's even a book called Signs that I recommend to anyone experiencing great loss. Signs are, in my opinion, it could be magical thinking, but to me it's very comforting. A sign is finding a random coin, or a butterfly that continues to come to find you, or a bird that continues to visit, or a cloud in the shape of a heart, or finding a rock in the shape of a heart. Anything that triggers your energy into feeling the essence of the person that you lost. I did a lot of yoga. I still continue to do yoga and find a lot of peace when I do the yoga. It's quiet. I can go into my head and really, really feel without distraction. And in the beginning, when I was at first grieving, sometimes when I would lay at the end, it's called Shavasana, and just relax in a peaceful state, I could imagine the energy of my son, my mom, my dog Sammy. I could almost feel them and smell them at times. Not in a scary way at all, not in a creepy way in any way, but it felt so comforting to me. Grief is a funny thing. I've had a lot of groups about grief, loss of a child, loss of a parent, loss of a partner. And I would say that it really matters on the bond you had with the person, not so much what their title was in your life. And I feel that we don't really know. Nobody really, really knows exactly what happens when a person or a pet passes away. But we do have theories. And the theories, in my opinion, you could like and resonate with one theory. I could resonate with another. But what I've come to the conclusion of is that whatever brings you comfort is your theory and your truth. My theory is, like I said before, when you love somebody and they love you, that they become sort of your guardian angel, and you can feel them, you can see them in a way, a smell will trigger you to feel their essence of being with you. I am not a big cemetery person. I'm not against it. Many people go to the cemetery and they feel considerably close to the person who passed. I find comfort, this may sound silly, but it brings me comfort, so to me it's not silly, in hugging a tree. Close my eyes, I wrap my arms around a tree, and I can almost feel the tree and my loved one hugging me back. Another comfort I found was seeing a medium. When my son died suddenly, I really didn't understand it. And I reached out to a medium in New York that I had experienced in the past. And I found that to be so comforting. He was wonderful. He said things that nobody else would know. And whether, some people are cynics, and that's fine. But I chose to feel the comfort that he was offering me with his words and the closure that I needed to hear. I even wrote a book that is available on Amazon. It's more of a workbook that I use for my workshops. It's pretty simple. It's just a guide, and it's called From Grief to Joy, Losing a Loved One. The feelings of grief, it starts with shock, typically, and disbelief, and you can be very numb. And then it goes into sometimes anger or guilt. I have a lot of parents that come to me that feel regret and guilt that they haven't done enough, or they could have done other things and they made poor choices. So that's complicated grief when somebody passes away and there's unfinished business, like you're in the middle of a fight, things to that nature. It can create a lot of trauma for the person left behind with regret. So grief is such a complicated but very necessary topic to talk about. There are things that I believe should be done while we're all healthy and alive and doing well. I believe that we should not leave anything unsaid. If we love someone or we feel a certain way, tell them. Let them know. I have handwritten letters to friends, to even patients, to my grandchildren, to my children, to my husband, about just what they mean to me and how I feel about them. And if I were to suddenly lose my life, they would have those letters, a physical letter that I hand wrote individually for them. Not heavy, but one of them is lighthearted, like to my daughter. I just wrote, dear daughter, now you can have my watch. She's been wanting for a long time. And you meant, it was wonderful. The day you were born was wonderful. And just little personal things. And I tucked them away in my, drawer with my important papers to be opened when I die. Another thing is, it's lovely to record a video. I'm enjoying these podcasts because even long after I am not here to do them anymore, if somebody wanted to hear me or know what I thought or not, I've recorded them and they'll be a legacy. I feel that, doing things now while you're alive, like, yes, it's wonderful to leave a will and to leave inheritance, but if you have something and like a ring or a thing, it could be a book, it could be money, it could be, something a cherished painting, anything, to hand it down while you would have the pleasure of the person receiving it, to me is such a blessing. So many people come to me when they've lost a loved one and they don't know what to do with all these myriad of feelings they're going through. So what I do as a therapist and a grief counselor is I try to normalize the situation, help them understand what they're going through, help them realize what they're going to be expecting. For example, I believe, and this is from my personal experience and observation of others, that the first year is very difficult. The first year is experiencing the first Father's Day, the first Christmas, the first birthday, the first, and then some people love to get passionate about the day of the death. Personally, I prefer the birthday to celebrate and to celebrate the life and the memories of what that person brought into your life or even your pet and how it really enriched your existence. After the first year, many people come to me and say, well, I thought I'd feel better. So what I've come to learn, and I hate to even say this out loud, but the first year is very challenging. It really is. It's the first this, it's the first that. And when you get to the anniversary of the first year, especially if it's somebody that you really adored and really, like my grandma, I still feel her every day, and I lost her physically 30 years ago. I keep her alive with memories, talking about her, having photographs of her, using some of her silver pieces, her repeating, some of her little, recipes and things she would say and things she would do. Keep her alive inside of me. I even have a little butter knife I handed down to my grandson, her great-grandson, to use. I want Grandma Celia's knife, Nana. And it just keeps her alive for me. And now with the stories and the photographs and the little symbolic items, I'm going to make her come to life for him and my children. So I will say the second year at times can be even more challenging, because that's when you realize that this is not a temporary situation, that this is never going to change, that this is permanent. That physically the person or the pet or the item or the home or whatever it is that you lost. This is the new reality. And so the second year really allows you to deal with the reality of your loss and the adjustment to the loss. Adjustment is key because you must learn to be a healthy individual. You must learn to adjust and adapt to everything that happens to us. We cannot change it. We can only change and help ourselves in a healthy way adjust and adapt to everything, including loss. So the second year is really when I believe the work and the adjustment and the adaptation occurs. Because let's face it, the one thing that is so crazy, and to this day, it's 11 years now, I cannot wrap my head around that it's so permanent. Like at first you think like it's an imaginary thing, they're going to come walking in and they're kidding, but this is permanent. And it's the one thing in life that I will say that you cannot change. When there is a death or an ending, that's it. It's over. And as human beings, we are not wired that way. We're wired to, adapt to it and look at it a different way and think of it a different way. So we need to really figure out a way for us to individually think about these losses where it doesn't turn us into a victim, but we can be turned into joyful, loving people that appreciate every single day, every breath, every moment that we have, and that the other people and things that we love are here, right now, and to not take those things for granted. Because the truth of the matter is, and I will end with this, nothing in life is permanent. Every single thing is temporary, including the sky. You may look up right now and see a blue sky without a cloud. That's only temporary. Because within a day or an hour or a moment, clouds will show up and they will change. Everything in life, everything is temporary. So enjoy what you have now. Enjoy who you are now. And if you're going through a hard time and you're suffering at the moment, just know that that too is only temporary. Nothing is forever except death. And how we perceive it and how we process it really will determine our experience here in life. I hope this has helped. It really, all of these things that I've discovered through my journey have helped me and so many, maybe hundreds of other people going through the grief process. So if you need a little extra and you want to have something to work with, like a workbook, I do recommend ordering the book Signs. I think that that's a very helpful, playful way to get in touch with your loved one. And I have the workbook that really mentions and reinforces a lot of what I've said today. And that is Losing a Loved One. And it is From Grief to Joy. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope this has helped. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.